Good morning, vinyl community, crime scene community. I'm here to read out another Nick Schreck chapter. It's called Red, White, and Blue, All American Terrorists, White Life Avengers, Wildfire Avengers. When Manson was sentenced to death on March 29th in 1971, much of the enthusiastic support he received from counterculture renegades before and during the trial evaporated. With few exceptions, what was left of the imploding and establishment radical movements accepted the popular wisdom that Manson had killed the 60s. Once hailed on as a visionary vanguard of the struggle against the establishment, he was now widely considered to be a bad apple of the psychedelic Eden, the conniving serpent who spoiled the whole party. Branded on the media of the mindless cult followers of the psychopathic Satanists, many of the remaining diehards left over from the Spawn Ranch commune dropped away. Bugliosi version of reality had prevailed in the downtown LA court and in the wider court of public opinion. Lynette Fromey, however, continued her promise to keep up the sidewalk vigil on Temple and Broadway until Manson was released. Several of her sisters in struggle, who'd X'd themselves from the system along with her, remained to fight what was now appeared to be a losing battle. Manson, who was sent to San Quentin's death row on the inside, the same high media profile that he had recently led leftist rebels to champion his crime, made him a target for other convicts. His notoriety made him fair game for anyone who wanted to make a reputation for themselves by offering the most dangerous man in the world. For even less prominent convicts than Manson, survival in California high security penitentiaries depended on making alliances with the powerful gangs who ruled the prison domain. These brutal fraternities who smuggled drugs and weapons into prison and carried out contract hits were based on the strict racial segregation laws that dominates American prison life to this day. In California in the early 70s, you were either part of the white, Mexican, black, or American Indian gangs, or you were dead. Thankful to Bugliosi, Manson was now believed even to be other prisoners who have been architects of an anti-black race war who ordered the murder of a pregnant woman. That kind of rap on his shoulders made him many instant enemies. The dictates of sheer survival led him to forge connections with the Aryan Brotherhood, who were the New York Times labeled a neo-Nazi band of young toughs largely recruited from the motorcycle gang of California's urban slums. After having been betrayed by Danny DiCarlo of the Straight Satan Slaves, who were supposedly invited to the Spawn Ranch to protect his commune, Manson, positioned in prison, forced him to accept the guardianship of a very similar gang, and therefore would be similar consequences. The main contact of the Aryan Brotherhood was a 30-year-old convict named Kenneth Jesse James Como. The San Francisco Examiner called Como one of the most dangerous men in the state's prison system. Manson had come a long way from the days when he enjoyed the fleeting support of such comrades as Jerry Rubin, Abby Hoffman, and Bernardine Doren. Manson had had some casual contact with the members of George Lincoln Rockwell's American Nazi Party during his prison stint in the 1950s. The Aryan Brotherhood connection marked Manson's first formal bond with an American extreme right. This was also a turning point in the increasingly desperate and radicalized Spawn Ranch survivors. They now began to turn from their former tactic of peaceful dropouts of a society to more violent means. Como escaped from Los Angeles County Jail in 1971. He was given sanctuary by the small remnants of the remaining Manson circle. Together, they planned another schemes to engineer Manson's escape from prison and save him from what was then to be thought his impending execution in the gas chamber. A series of robberies designed to finance his scheme ended with a teeming flaming 10-minute shootout with the police that broke out during a gun store robbery held in the Beach Boys' old neighborhood of Hawthorne. 70 bullets flew back and forth, but no one was killed. The Mansonites were all arrested. Leading the heist was Como and his new girlfriend, Catherine Gypsy Scher. Mary Brunner, with whom he had all began in Berkeley in the summer of '67, also fired at the pursuing pigs. Brunner, the mother of Manson's son, Michael, had been coerced into testifying for Bugliosi at the end, but had a change of heart and returned to the fold. They had pulled off the gun robbery, according to the prosecutor at the trial. Como and Gypsy ended to hijack an airplane at Los Angeles airport to execute a passenger every hour until Manson was left out of prison. Whether this was to be considered to be a manifestation of an ordinary crime or if it enters into political terrorism is yet a matter of definition. After the arrest, trial, and long prison sentences given to Hawthorne robbery group, Lynette Fromm and Sandra Good were pretty much out of their own to keep the Manson flame burning on the outside. Fromme finally accepted that her protest efforts weren't likely to win Manson's release. She reluctantly brought an end to her sidewalk vigil on the fall of '72. She had been briefly apprehended as an accessory to an Aryan Brotherhood murder committed in Stockholm, but was freed on this charge in 1973. After a short passing of the ways, Fromme and Good reunited in California's capital city of Sacramento. When Manson's death sentence was revoked, he was transferred to Folsom, not far from the girls' Peace Street apartment in downtown Sacramento. Although they weren't allowed to visit Manson, they were at least wanted to be in the same space continuum. Meanwhile, the usual vagaries of human nature led to the collapse of the Manson Aryan Brotherhood axis. The initial show of solidarity demonstrated that the robberies held to free Manson quickly turned to rancor. It was so often the case, even amongst the most extreme factions, it was part simply sexual dynamics that broke up the pact. Gypsy Mary and Nancy Brenda Pittman, otherwise as known as Brenda McCann, eventually shifted their affections from the imprisoned Manson to Como. This schism echoed the earlier '69 split on the Spahn Ranch between the mystical musical Manson cluster and the more pragmatic, strictly criminal Watson clique. Scher and Como were married in 1977 until 1981. In July of 2012, while Manson was reading the passages above in the first edition of this book, he wrote by way of clarification, Como was never an Aryan Brotherhood brother. He was a punk, trying to be the leader of a family. I told him there was no family, and he put some women off on a trip I had going and changed it and got a lot of people shot and didn't want the Aryan Brotherhood to find out and covered it up, trying to get a gang up on me and fell down and led me to Cat Scher. An Aryan Brotherhood and didn't position me or try to destroy me. That's bunk. Cat Scher Gypsy, a Jew, and she was playing him to be a communist or whatever jealousy was the problem. Internal prison records fairly convincing identify Como as an affiliate with the Aryan Brotherhood, as described his attempt to kill Manson, but considering how much misinformation clouds every aspect of this case, Manson's equally adamant denial should be taken into account when considering this confusing episode. Manson had also said of Como, I helped get him out, and he undermined me because I am not as much into lies he taught me. He wanted me to be the family leader, and I didn't even know there was one before the DA had made it up. Another equally important factor in Manson's split from the Aryan Brotherhood was a basic ideological disagreement. While the broad publicly disseminated of Bugliosi's helter-skelter thesis led many to believe that Manson was a rabid racist who advocated for the extermination of blacks, that was a gross exaggeration of his actual philosophy. In fact, while Manson certainly maintained the traditional Southern opposition of miscegenation between the races, he never preached hatred. against any ethnic group. According to Manson, there is only one mind, and it ain't got no color. And that's why I told you you got to be reborn. You only got one people, man. I mean, there are differences in nature. A cocker spaniel is not a sheepdog, and a sheepdog is not a pit bull. And you can't rightly judge one thing from another. Elsewhere, in a document entitled The Brainwash, Manson wrote, I have no judgment on people. I've always been for the order of life of nature tells any life form how to survive. I'm for me first. I'm not down on anyone, and I don't need to pick off another white person to prove to black people it is without hate. That Manson could be pro-white without being anti-black is apparently an impossible concept for some to grasp. Asked about his alleged racism, Manson once said, I hate you, white people, first. You're the first line of my hate. I hate all white people. White people are rotten, and black people are just like them because you've made them exactly like you. You took them out of the jungle and you want to make them into a man. Why couldn't they just be left to God, to be God? Why do you have to make them into a man? In the jungle, they were God. That those ambitious sentiments better capture Manson's racial views than the usual cliques is also supported by the passage quoting Manson in Jesse Bravin's biography of Squeaky Fromm. The following is drawn directly from Fromm's unpublished memoir of a Manson sermon. The white man came to this country. We ran the Indians out. Then we show them a treaty and we say peace. They sign the treaty. They all smoke the pipes and sit around in a circle. Then we come up and wipe them out. We bring the black people over here to work for us. And they are dumb because they have been living in love and they have been living simply. And we show them what to do and we rape their women and kill them because they are just nothing. You know, we all have a race. We all have killed anything darker than us. We put it down or put it away and we have controlled it. Halbiosi distilled helter-skelter from the critique of white imperialism as one of the modern jurisprudence miracles. What's more confounding is how many Manson's own whose own supporters willfully ignore his own words on the subject of favor of Bliosi's racist interpretation. While recognizing anything less than complete homogeneity will probably still be found objectionable to the politically correct, Manson's acknowledgement of racial differences is very different than the crude creed of bigoted hatred usually ascribed to him. It was this that ultimately led to the break of the Aryan Brotherhood, who practiced wholesale abhorrence of blacks in general principle. In the June 73 letter, Lynette Fromme attempted to explain this much misunderstood facet of Manson's thought. Aryan's Brotherhood moves much more in pure hate, as they want him, Manson, to kill blacks because black is black. He will not do this, and they are against him. In 1975, Como attacked Manson in the Folsom prison yard and was listed as enemy of Manson in the California Bureau of Prisons list. Shortly thereafter, prison records documented that the Aryan Brotherhood tried to assassinate Manson by arranging for him to be served as a glass of Tang breakfast drink mixed with rat poison. More indomitable than ever Rasputin, he survived this attempt to kill him, just as he made it through several other near-fatal attempts. A bizarre postscript to the Manson Aryan Brotherhood feud came in 1979 when news reports came that Como and Catherine Scher had united with remnants of the Symbionese Liberation Army, the symbolic rattle group and famous for converting the kidnapped heiress Patty Hearst to the Marxist revolutionary cause. We're going to end here with Patty Hearst because it's going to go into Donald DeFreeze, who hated black people, and Patty Hearst never hated black people. She was put in the same program I was, which I'm not allowed to talk about. So this is a whole long chapter. It's going to take me another day to read it. So we're going to end the stream now and say God bless all the family members and friends. God bless these guys for bringing truth to this country.